have played Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown for over 10 hours now, completed all the content in the demo, and here's 10 things that I hate about the new TDU Solar Crown. Now keep in mind this is based on their demo, which does not represent their actual full game, so we'll definitely have to make an updated video when the full game comes out. But here we go. Number 1, the gameplay nerf. So while they improved the graphics by a lot compared to the previous TDU, the gameplay has gotten a nerf. For example, in previous TDU, there were car delivery missions. You would get to drive someone else's car in the game, usually exotic cars, from point A to point B, and you would get money for that service. This was really exciting because, cars are, hard to get. You get a grind for the cars, but those missions allowed you to still have access to those high-end sports cars even though you just started the game. And sadly, this feature does not exist in the new TDU. And I know full game is not out yet, but I do have a strong feeling it won't be in the full version as well. There's also significantly less cutscenes and just story in the new TDU. I remember in the old TDU 2, there was like a mission where you would have to bring a chick to a club, and she was literally sitting next to you in the car as well. The game just has so much story and so many cutscenes everywhere. It was good time. So compared to the old gameplay, I feel like new TDU is bland. Also, in the old one, you could even buy and customize your apartments, and your cars would be in your property garage. So yeah, I'd say TDU Solar Crown got a little bit of a nerf in my opinion. I mean, pretty big one in terms of gameplay. Let's move on to the next one, the physics. Now, for racing, they feel fine, but if you try to drift, it is almost impossible to recover your car if it starts to oversteer, and it's just way too grippy when you're sideways. Kinda like vanilla Need for Speed physics if you try to get sideways. It doesn't make any sense. So they haven't really focused on drifting aspect at all. But we have to keep in mind that there might be special drift cars in the full game. For example, Crew Motorfest fixed this same issue by having special drift spec cars. So there's a Ferrari and there is Drift Ferrari, and the Drift Ferrari would just handle way differently than the normal Ferrari. So I hope we have some kind of a similar fix for the drifters out there as well, playing the new TDU Solar Crown. Number 3, first person view. Very low effort in first person view. The mirrors don't work, the wheel barely moves even if you steer to like max lock. Even worse than Forza's rotation, I think. The interior seems also like a little too bland. Shadows are bad. I do hope they improve the first person view in the full game. I do want to say also, I don't really care about graphics. What I want is gameplay. It's gameplay, physics, and graphics, in that order. I'm fine with the graphics in TDU Solar Crown. Now, number 4, the AI. So during races and even the open world traffic cars, the AI is trash. Sometimes they literally even teleport elsewhere during races, which makes no sense at all. They also ram you like crazy. Maybe they were programmed to be like Forza players. We don't know. And as for AI pedestrians, we have none. Having pedestrians walking around the city would add so much life to the environment. In the Crew 2, there were people around walking around the city on the sidewalks, but you can't really run them over, so you don't have to like age restrict the game because of it. They would kind of like scatter. Same principle like in Forza, you can't run over the sheep. They scatter before you hit them. So I was really hoping for to see pedestrians. Even Need for Speed Unbound has pedestrians walking around the city. Like, come on. Number 5. The game bosses. Yes, Solar Crown does have bosses in the game, but they are too weak. Do you guys remember like in Need for Speed Most Wanted or Carbon? The bosses were actually hard to beat, and sometimes you would even need like more than 10 attempts to beat the boss. It was so close and it was so exciting even if you'd lose. In TDU Solar Crown, I defeated the boss on my first attempt and I got the boss after like 2 corners pretty much. It didn't feel like beating the boss at all. The boss fight was actually easier than any other race before or after with like multiple NPCs, normal races. So they need to beef up the bosses so they would have meaning. Number 6, the optimization. I know, currently it's just a demo, but what in the world are those specs? These are crazy specs right there that you need to run the game. The graphics ain't even like that good, it just screams bad optimization. But this is one of those things that I'm pretty sure will get improved when the full game is out. So I wouldn't worry about that too much, but I am a little concerned. Now, tire smoke looks horrendous in Solar Crown. While I like the overall graphics, and I know it's not Forza graphics, Forza is way better, but the meat graphics don't bother me, but the tire smoke is the one thing that kinda bothers me, because it just looks so bad compared to the rest of the elements in the game. And if we want to nitpick, I would say the exhaust backfire as well. Like, just some few elements look like they came straight out of Roblox or something. Number 7, the bland events. If you open up the map, you have all the events on the map, right? And we talked about like the gameplay nerf overall earlier. Because of that nerf, I was hoping maybe at least we have different types of events in the game. But so far, the events are all just racing. There is no drift events, no drag events, no special events. It just gets boring really fast. Speaking of special events, what I mean, for example, Crew Motorfest has these weird types of races. For example, in one race, your speed is set to a specific speed by the game, and you can't slow down or speed. All you gotta do is steer and avoid like the obstacles on the road. The more you hit, the worse the score. And that was really fun. That's just one example. Motorfest has like these weird special events, which I just loved. TDU Solar Crown definitely has to mix up their events a little bit in the full game. If it's all just races, people will quit the game after a week or two. Like, at least give us some drag races or drift events. Because there is already like kind of a drift track in the game. Maybe a drift event over there would be pretty cool. Number 8, bad wheel support. As you can see, couldn't get my DD Moza wheel working. I heard from another dude that, what was it? Kama's DD wheel was also not working. There was the issues with the wheels. I've also heard that someone did get their DD wheel working. I don't know exactly what wheel it was, but DD wheels kind of 50-50 if it will work. Mine didn't. So I did have to switch to my Trustmaster T300, which, you know, it works in every game. But even then, like, if you get your wheel working, people are still complaining about the force feedback in general. And even common wheels like Logitech G29, it doesn't seem to work properly. I've heard it's worse on a G29 than it is on a Trustmaster, probably because Trustmaster is belt engine and Logitech G29 is a gear engine wheel. The bad force feedback you're gonna feel a lot worse in the gear engine in G29. But for me, on the belt engine wheel, it wasn't that bad. I can't really complain about the force feedback personally, but I do wish I could get my DD wheel working. This is a racing game. Steering wheel support should not be an issue in games like these, right? Number 9, no offline mode. And this is a really bad trend in video games nowadays. For example, this happened with the Crew game as well, where you did buy the Crew game, but you can no longer play it due to the fact that it was a live service game. So when Ubisoft pulls the plug, nobody can play the game anymore. You gotta have an internet connection to play the game. Racing games should have an offline version of the game, in my opinion, that you can play it without an internet connection. So even if they pull the plug, they pull their game servers, you should still be able to access the game and play it offline. Someday, when TDU Solar Crown decides they don't want to keep the Solar Crown servers alive, they're gonna pull the plug and you cannot play the game anymore, even though you have purchased it, and you will not get a refund. So that is bad. The live service games in racing games, I don't support that idea at all. Number 10, bad car customization. I didn't find any way to tune the car visually except like rims, paint job, and window tint. But in TDU's defense, car tuning has never been a thing in their games anyway. But still, would have been cool to see it in this new game regardless. But boys, it is not all bad. There's a lot of stuff which I do like about the new Solar Crown game as well. For example, number 1, they had a demo in the first place. Forza doesn't have a demo, Need for Speed doesn't have a demo, but at least they gave us a portion of their game for free. I know it's limited time period, but I respect that. Number 2, the map. Now, in the previous TDU 2, it was Ibiza, summer vibes with palm trees, really cool map. And in the new game, the Solar Crown, we have Hong Kong. Huge modern city, also looks lovely. They mixed it up and it looks pretty good actually. I love the city, all these tall buildings. Looks good in nighttime as well with all the city lights. And it's just not all city, there is off-road as well. If you go out of the city, you can do off-roading, pretty much just like in Forza Horizon 5. So I really do like the Solar Crown's map. Third thing that I like, you can walk around. Walk around cars, open car doors manually manually. True Motorfest, by the way, also allows you to walk around in certain areas. And the same thing is in Solar Crown. In certain areas, usually inside of buildings, you can walk around, which is really cool. I love that fact. Now, for number 4, what I love about Solar Crown, that you can test drive the cars. Being able to test drive the cars without buying them. You have like 2 minutes to test drive the car. I love that. Maybe you don't even like the handling and you're grinding for that car for like days. You buy it and you're like, wow, I don't like it. You can't really refund, right? But you can test out all the cars and then decide what you want to grind for, knowing what the cars feel like. That is really awesome. Number 5. What else do I love? Car sounds. I don't know how they pulled it off, but I think the sounds are even better than Forza Horizon 5. Now, maybe they're not more realistic, but they sound better. I don't know how to explain that. Backfire, you know, the classic AK-47 backfire, which you want. And overall, like, Forza recorded like real-life car sounds with the microphones, cameras, and it sounds so bland compared to Solar Crown. So I don't know, Solar Crown, how you did the sounds, but good job with the sounds. Overall, I had a lot of fun in the free version of Solar Crown, but I expected more from Solar Crown based on their previous games. It seems pretty common that the next game is always gonna be worse than the previous one. It's like an industry problem. It's also happening with Forza games, with crew games. We're like just going downhill. We're just getting less and less features, slightly better graphics, and you know, different environment. And I guess we keep eating it up. Maybe that's the problem. But I am glad overall that we got a new racing game. Racing games in general have just been so bland. If you want to just play an open world racing game, you just have Need for Speed, Forza Horizon, The Crew, and what else? That's it. And now we have the 4th one as well, which is Solar Crown. That's all we can choose from. Open world racing games. And you know, Solar Crown wasn't as good as we expected, but at least it exists now. Just sad that there's nothing really special added to racing games nowadays. There's no flair, no originality. They're trying to copy each other, tiny bit over here and there, playing it safe and not really understanding what the community wants at all. But we're gonna have to wait till the full game is out. There is still time for improvements. I'm yapping for too long. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and as always, stay sideways. Peace!